Hey there, YouTubers. Right, so in this video we're going to compare this new Asus Prime B660 Plus D4 that I just got with the Aorus B660M Pro AX DDR4. In case you were considering buying these two, whether you decide to buy them new or used, we'll kind of go over these. First thing, Aorus is like Gigabyte's more expensive line. So this thing on the right, more expensive. What are they going for? I think it's somewhere in the low 200s. Now this guy over here, I just picked it up for 80 bucks, right? But normally it's about 140. I got this off Newegg July 4 special. For those of you that are from other countries in the USA, that's our Independence Day from Britain. So a lot of times there are good deals, and in this case there was for that. All right, so both of these folks are going to support 12th gen Intel CPUs, LGA 1700, and in the future a 13th gen CPU will be supported by these. At least that's what Intel says. Now they may change their minds and shaft us, kind of like what they did with B460, but for now that is the plan. So things you could kind of notice from these, since we stay in the CPU land, you could probably tell that this guy is a little better off for handling your higher performance CPUs. Now how much, that's another story, and it kind of depends on how the settings you might have on your CPUs. And what that CPU is. For a Celeron, a Pentium, an i3, it's not going to make a difference. Most of the i5's not really going to make a difference. It might start to matter i5 12600K if you were to stick one of those in here, an i7 12700, 12700K, i9 12900, i9 12900K. Both these motherboards will support all the 12 gens. And to include that i9 12900KS with a BIOS update. VRMs, should be better on this. You see a heftier heatsink over here as well as over here. So that, you would think would be a positive over here, right? Is it worth spending the money? Kind of depends on which CPU you buy. Now there's other features that we'll see that might be better on this one as well. 4 RAM slots. And looking at this guy has the RAM slots spaced out a little better. You may find some of the RAM, the RGB RAM, easier to deal with in these RAM slots and not as easy to deal with these. They may almost come in contact on this side. All right. Let me slide this over a little and separate that a little bit more so you can see. So both these, of course, are going to have 24-pin power connector. That's going to come from the PSU and power the motherboard. RGB stuff up here. This one has RGB over here, and ARGB. USB 3.0 header, okay, for your case. Both of these have USB Type-C Charlie headers. That's good. Same amount of SATAs, 4 here, 2 here, and 2 here on this motherboard, as you would expect. I think that's pretty much a standard on all the B660s. Now, if you really need more SATAs, then you would have to jump up to something like a Z690. I have, one of mine has 8, the ASRock Z690. All right, what else, folks? Front panel connector. So, here's a place where you start to see the better quality. These pins are encased. Is that such a big deal? Well, Gigabyte has this device. I'm drawing a blank on what it's called. The G something. I forgot what it's called, but you can put all your front panel connectors in it and end up dropping it in here. And so sometimes a little easier to work with, especially when you've already got this stuff in your case. That can be, kind of a pain in the butt, especially if you have big hands. So that is one difference. Otherwise, we've got the same type headers. Nicer color pattern here. This has the descriptions You can see that. I bring the light out, but what they are right underneath it so you can read it. If you probably need a magnifying glass. For me, I can read it with my reading glasses. Otherwise, I can't read it. USB 2.0s, 2 of those, okay. 1 fan header here, 2 over here. And this has 1 fan header here and 1 here. So far pretty close in the number of fan headers. Here is a Cmos battery. This will help you reset your BIOS if necessary. And you know, sometimes these batteries die, so that can occasionally cause issues there. Let's talk about M.2s, folks, before we look at the expansion slots. Both of these have Gen 4s, right? But the one nice thing about this guy, it has 3. So 1 here, 1 here, and 1 under this heatsink. And this actually does have another cover that I don't have out. So who knows where I've misplaced that, but that's what it looks like, okay? It has a heatsink as well. And of course, this is where you most likely would want to put your operating system right here, right? That's where they suggest that you put it. Does it matter? I'm not really sure it does. If you had a Gen 4, maybe it will because they're going to get hotter. So that is, you know, probably what you should do, right? All right, expansion slots. So this one is very limited, folks. 2 full-size ones, PCIe 4.0. That's all you get, folks. Of course, that is a micro ATX. A lot of times, micro ATX will have another one in there, a smaller one, but the full ATX motherboard over here has 2 of the 1-inch ones, PCIe 3.0 by 1. And then this is a Gen 4 PCIe 4.0 and another PCIe 4.0 by 16. All right, so you can run 2 graphics cards off either one of these. We may not have called it out, but HD audio here, that comes from your case as well. And fan header, we called those out. So let's see if there's any other. Okay, here's your CPU for this motherboard. The CPU cooler fan header and optional, maybe even a pump. And then this guy right here. Okay, so they're totally in different zones on the motherboard. Let's flip these around so you can see it from the top side. So you see over here that extra 1x4. So this one may be better suited for an i9 or an i7 or a unlocked CPU. And from this angle also you can see how much beefier that heatsink is. There are no other fan headers over here. This one does have one right behind that, so kind of hard to get to, but they have that there in case you need another case fan header, which means the smaller motherboard would appear, folks, to have more fan headers than the larger one. All right, so we'll talk about these separately. So I don't think I can get a good angle on here for you all. We could try. Nope, not going to be able to get you a good angle. So let's just pick this up. Show you what's on here. So one of the other big differences between these Wi-Fi, right? That's usually worth at least $30. Quite a few 4 USB 2.0s here. Okay. DisplayPort, HDMI. Here is for this one, if you want to do a BIOS update, you would put your thumb drive into that one. Type-C Charlie connector, USB 3.2s, 4 of those, Ethernet 2.5 gig. This has a fiber optic, which I love. Line out and mic, so headphone basically. So some nice things on the more expensive motherboard. Now, on what I got, this would be about $140. What do you get? VGA, if you need that. I don't know who does anymore. HDMI, DisplayPort, USB 2.0s, 3.2 Gen 1, 3.2 Gen 2s, Type-C Charlie, line out, headphone, microphone, and a 2.5 gig there. So this has got quite a few good features on it. And to be honest with you folks, most of you would be happy with this. There's a certain point where, you know, maybe you need something like this or the larger one, the full ATX. But that's, you know, that's comparing these two. Hope you guys got something out of it. Please like, please subscribe. Thank you.